How's it going, Nate?
What's up, Bart?
Pretty good.
Good. How are you?
Pretty good, man. So you got a hand for us here, Nate?
Yeah. This is a 2-5, and we're 1,200 effective.
2-5. And this is this in the home game or where's this played out of?
This is actually a poker club in Ohio,
Okay. So 2-5, 1200. Okay.
and we have Ace of Diamonds, King of Spades, and the low jack. So I open at 20. The button calls, and both blinds call.
Just two blind game, right?
Yes.
All right. So $80. Hero opens ace king off to 20. Button and both blinds call. By the way, I didn't give Nate his proper introduction. Of course, Nate is a coach on Crush Live Poker, but I'm sure people know that. He created our Solve for Live chart, and we've got some big things down the road coming, I think, from Nate as we roll into the later part of the year that I am excited about. Great work from Nate, and he plays out of the Cincinnati area. So, all right, $80, ace king, and we're four ways. Okay.
Yeah. And we get King of Diamonds, 5 of hearts, 2 of hearts.
King of diamonds, 5 of hearts, 2 of hearts. All right, so top pair, flush draw. Shouldn't be any real two pair represented. Maybe once in a while because the big blind's closing the action, right, for 15 more. Might have some like King X suiteds or something like that. He's super wide.
Correct.
Yep.
And it checks to us.
Okay, so check. Yep.
What size do you like here?
Well, it's funny because it's going to get into this. I know this a little bit later on in the hand. I would size up slightly more when I have a strong hand and I unblock top pair. Like I would definitely, on average, bet larger with aces than I would with ace king. I'm not saying that I still wouldn't take the 2/3 sizing here. Just the fact that you have top pair here means that it's slightly less likely that someone has. But people VPIP and live poker, all kinds of offsuit Broadway types of holdings. And I just think that I would just go like 60 all day long here, 60 to 75. I feel like you might even bet larger than that, Nate. I know the whole multi-way theory says sometimes to go smaller, but you've got a couple hearts out there. And again, like people underestimate the times where you can get light value. I feel like you get the thinnest value. We talk about getting thin value on Crush Live Poker on rivers, but a lot of times you get a lot of very thin value. And not that ace king is thin, but like a lot of light value, like a lot of opponents calling you with like a 5, pocket 4s on the flop. The more cards that come out, the weaker their hand becomes if it's not top pair, especially on a board like this where there's inherently going to be an overcard to second pair. So
Right.
you get your flop, you get your sort of your light value early on. What sizing did you take?
Makes sense. I went 50.
Okay.
And button goes to 125 and it folds back around us.
So hero, obviously with ace king, flops top pair, and it goes king 5 deuce with 2 hearts. The king is not a heart, by the way. I think that's something that's subtle. Nate bets 50. The button goes to 125, and then it goes fold. So what do I think about this type of raise size? Well, a lot of times, this is going to be a kind of a top pairish type of hand, or this could also be King X of hearts here, I feel like. I think to a much lesser extent that this is like a set, because usually, at least what I've found in live poker, is that when people flop sets of like 5s or deuces here, there's two things. They're either going to slow play, maybe some of the time, or if they raise, they're going to start building. I don't see a lot of really small raises with sets. I'm not saying that it's impossible, but I would be fairly confident here that you have the best hand. And I think your option for bet 3 betting here is definite. And also, I mean, you could talk about like combo draws and stuff like that, which also kind of tend to like, I think, size up a little bit. Like what would be a combo draw here? Like maybe like an ace 3 of hearts, ace 4 of hearts, of course, like King X of hearts. But all of those hands are still going to call a bet 3 bet here. And again, I went back to the whole thing where this would be even more likely if you unblock top pair, like if you had aces or if you had like pocket 5s or pocket deuces, whatever, wherever you're opening from the low jack, just giving your opponent more opportunity to have top pair. Now, obviously, sets are stronger hands. Like if you had a set of fives, and then that now you don't really worry about anything, right? The guy's always going to 3-bet king, king. Like you beat deuce, deuce, right? So there's that, but there really shouldn't be a whole lot of 2-pair available. So I very well might do a lot of 3-betting here. And the reason why is because if you just call and the opponent has like king, queen, king, jack, or like king, 9 of hearts, there's no guarantee that he's going to bet turn. Like you could get cute and call, and depending on what his sizing is, if he bets turn, maybe sometimes go for a very thin check raise, but there's no guarantee that that's going to happen.
Yeah, and that was the debate I had in real time was how often is he going to check back the turn just to realize with the small raise size? And how often can I bet 3-bet? But I thought he would take a small size on the turn if he was trying to just realize so he could get check 2 on the river to check back.
So you think that he will bet off with like king, queen, and king, jack on the turn?
Yeah, with a small size so he can just check back river
Now,
and get the showdown.
How to Win in the live chat says, I don't like bet 3-bet. I think king, jack, and king, queen fold too often. I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know what the deal is with this guy, Nate. Did that ever cross your head that you'd get a king to fold if you bet 3-bet?
No, not really.
Okay, it didn't really cross my head either. So really the question then becomes is that do you get more money in though by bet 3-betting the flop or by check raising turn and then him calling? Because I feel like check raising, do you agree with me, Nate, that check raising, so let's look at the two options. Which one is stronger from your opponent's perspective? You bet 3-betting the flop or you calling his raise and then check raising the turn if he bets on a blank? What do you think looks stronger?
I mean, later street aggression always looks stronger to most people.
I tend to think that that's also, I agree with you. I tend to think that that's the case, which kind of leans me towards this whole thing of getting more money in now, because I actually think it looks less strong, at least in their opponent's eyes. So, if we call, we got to gamble on the fact that he doesn't take a card on the turn, then he will still continue with a hand like king, queen, or king, jack to a check raise.
Right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
But you called or what?
Call. What I call. Yeah. Sorry.
So hero calls. So now the pot's 330.
330, and we get the 9 of spades.
Okay, so that's a brick.
And obviously I check and flow.
I mean, the only thing is that if he has like king 9,
Right.
I don't know if king 9 like non-hearts raises flop like this.
Yeah, I wouldn't think king 9 would click it back on us like that.
Right, so it's just like king 9 of hearts.
King 9 heart, right.
Right. Okay.
So I check, he bets 125, and it's back to me.
All right, so hero checks and the button same bet, in quotes. Same bet. CLP, we talk about same bet. Usually it's this other way around. And what I mean by that is that I always talk about same bet is usually when somebody check raises me. So if you can imagine Nate actually being in position here, betting the flop and then getting this little check raise, like from a guy from like the big blind. And let's say Nate called, continued with a call, and then you get same bet from out of position player. I always maintain where you get this when the raise is followed up with a bet size of the same or less, that it is not indicative of strength and you can play your hand accordingly. I think this one's the same way, right? I mean, Nate, I think you set this one up. This seems like a little like he's betting on the turn to take a showdown, right?
Right, 100%.
I mean, so there are two options here. There are definitely two options here. The first option, we've talked about this, which is, okay, Nate's going to check raise here. So Nate can check raise here, and you probably wouldn't want to necessarily like go gigantic because you don't want to blow him off the pot, right? Of like king, jack, king, queen. So that one's right off the bat to build the pot up. And then there's another option, which I kind of call like, this again, kind of a made up term, which is upfront bet. And what I mean by upfront bet from out of position is you don't check raise here. You just call the 125.
And leave river.
Yeah, and you gamble on the fact that a non-heart comes at the end, and then you just blast for pot at the end. So you can look at it like if you're thinking, well, if I check raise here and it's going to look really strong and he's going to fold some stuff out. The other option is call. The pot's going to be 580 and then the river's like an offsuit 7 and then you just bet like 500-600 and you will almost always get called by King X with that line. But things have to happen, right? You got to get like a non-scare card.
Yeah.
If you do this and the river's like a queen or a jack or a 10, you might be like, you really are banking on like a blank type of hand. Is there ever any chance that he would raise this size on the flop with some sort of 9x of hearts holding? Before we knew the turn bet sizing, did you ever think that there was any type of draw that was non-combo-ish that might ever raise like this?
I mean, I didn't really think so. I thought it was just flush draws and
nut flush draw, like nut flush wheel draws, stuff like that. Or just nut flush draws, right? No, I was just trying to think about if he ever
I mean, he could have like ace 9 of hearts, maybe.
But would he bet the turn though, like this? I mean, that's what I was saying. Like he could, but then when he bets this size on the turn, it just seems very odd to me.
Correct, because he just got showdown back.
Yeah, or check it back. Yeah, something like that. Or if he didn't pair up, like if he had ace 10 of hearts, would he take this size? It's just really bizarre. So did you think about those two options of call, lead, and then check raise?
Yeah, I actually did think about that, and we discussed this on Discord when I posted it, and there were several people who also liked the call lead river line.
Yeah.
So
what did you do?
I actually went to 350.
Okay, so you didn't go like crazy, right?
Right, I kept it small. I want to bring him along.
So, and again, I will point out, as people are saying in the live chat, I think that this is a flush draw so far and few between because of the sizing, with maybe the exception of King X of hearts here. I just like, if someone's raising with a combo draw here, are they really going to click the flop and then bet 1/3 the turn for max fold equity? So I'm not overly concerned that much about pricing in draws, Nate. You know what I mean?
Right. For sure.
And I don't think he's got a lot of King 9 of hearts that also with the sizing.
Right. We don't want to lose our King, Jack, King, Queen type of hands. What I was thinking.
All right. So here goes 350. And does button call?
Yeah, he calls.
Button calls. I'm trying to think about this sizing here. So you're going just under 3x. I think that's maybe you could squeak up 350 to 400 just as a little subtle thing. Yeah.
So, and that might make sense too, because I leave about 2/3 to 3/4 on the river here.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So we got 1,030 in the pocket going to the river, and we get the 7 of clubs.
Well, that's a great break, right?
Yeah, for sure.
7 of clubs. All right. So unless he's doing something really strange with King 9 of hearts here, or he's got like King 7 of hearts, right? Something like that. I mean, you just have the best hand here so often. And really you're looking at like King, Queen, King, Jack. I mean, that's what I think this guy has a lot. So the pot's got 1,030. How much do you have? 700?
Got about 700-ish.
Well, I mean, this might be a little bit player dependent here, Nate, like in terms of how somebody might view you. If somebody's made some hero calls against you, there might be certain people that I might just jam all in against if they think like I'm full of shit. Going back to the days where I played every single day at 510, I absolutely, if I took this line, might jam against some people here too, just that they're never folding a king.
Right.
There might be certain other needier players where maybe I don't go all in here, and maybe I size a little bit less, but I would be shocked if you don't have the best hand here.
Right. So if you think they're a little bit nittier, what size do you pick here?
You said you had what, 700 left, something like that?
Yeah, 700. Right. Like this
475, something like that. 475, 500.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I thought with the hearts breaking out, it was a great spot for me to just put it in.
Okay.
And I jam.
Mm-hmm.
He actually tank folds. Shows a king and folds, which obviously is a king.
So the button, tank folds a king. You didn't see what the kicker was though, huh?
I didn't get to see the kick.
I mean, it's got to be king, queen, or it's got to be a lot of king, queen, right? King, queen, king, jack.
King, queen, that's what I assume.
But let's roll this back to the flop here, because I think you made, I mean, obviously you got more money in with the check raise on turn, but I think we can go back here and see that I think if we run this hand over and over again, I think you can see how if you three bet the flop, you have way more of a chance of getting all the money in than going for a check raise on the turn.
Yeah, I agree.
Like 50 to 125 to 300. Call. Pot's like 680. You guys have 900 left. 1.5 SPR. You go 350 on the turn. Call. Pot's like 1700, right? And then you've got what, like 600 left, right? Something like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just much, much easier.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, interesting one. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Nate.